Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about Polaroid Lab, the pack. We're going to go over the user experience, the design, and then break down the overall structure and understand what went into making this box. So first things first, just from the top, we've got these hang tabs. You got one on the front, one on the back. Reason for that is this thing's extremely heavy for a peg, and the way that it fits is you can actually only fit one on a peg, which isn't the greatest from a display perspective. The things that you've got to consider as a packaging designer is not only the user that's going to unpack it, but who's going to fulfill it, who's going to pack it, who's going to distribute it, and ultimately who's going to put it on shelf, right? What's that person thinking? Obviously they're not from the brand, they're from the retailer, so the amount of care that goes into hanging this on the shelf isn't always top notch. So without further ado, let's dive into the unpacking of this box. We're going to go over the experience. So as a user, you've pulled it off the shelf. It's pegged in this fashion here, so this is facing you. Not only is this facing you, just one thing to consider is that when you actually go to unpack it, this is now the front for you. So this being the front, I'm going to lift this flap back away from me, which is great. One of the actions that happens when you pull a lid away from you is that you're actually bringing the product towards you, right? You want to embrace that product as a consumer. If it goes the other way, where you are pulling this lid towards you, what tends to happen is you pull it towards you, you're pushing the product away from you. And we're looking for that consumer product embrace when we're talking about packaging design. So these have secure tabs on either side. Tear into those, and then you pull this flap back. It's got a locking tab feature here, pretty standard, nothing special there. You open it up, then remove these short dust flaps. One thing you'll see here when you open it is that you've got some verbiage on this tab here. Things that could have been done is this could have been die cut in a way that would allow you to see the full text here. That could be more of a welcoming information, or bring those dust flaps together and just hide that, right? Why give me a partial view of something? So open that, now you get to see the full message, which is basically to pull gently. And that's the way the brand is explaining to you how to remove the product. So let's go ahead and remove this. I'm gonna start to lift this up. Perfect. You've got inside the box, you've got left what's called the quick start guide, QSG, so how to use the product. We're not concerned about how to use the product because we're only focused on the packaging. So you've got this box, you've pulled this out, let's pull gently. Consumers are either going to try to slide this thing off, or those that know will flip it over and undo this latching mechanism. Put this guy aside, then you're left with this product. You go like this, lift this out. You got nothing, you don't have anything on top of there. You lift this out and it looks perfect because you got this cable in this section. So, as a packaging designer, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to remove it, I'm going to hold it from the back, separate this, pull this product out, got the other molded fiber here, and then there's a poly bag over the top of it that allows me then to remove the product, and here I am. So I've ended up with the product that I purchased. I've got one poly bag. There's a poly bag around the cable. That's two poly bags. Two molded fiber inserts that are mirror images of each other. Sleeve, belly band. And a corrugated box. So it's not too much packaging. There's probably ways that we could have reduced the amount of packaging here. This could have been one insert that wrapped around the box, that wrapped around the product. That would eliminate the need of this. There's always ways that we can eliminate components, but you also want to balance user experience with amount of packaging. As a packaging designer, my focus is here from the beginning of the project. But once I get going, how this product functions, the size, the weight, all those components, all that information I've gathered already, this isn't quite as important to me as the rest of this and how I'm delivering this to the user, identifying who those users are, So somebody's going to be producing this, they're going to be transporting it from their factory to either the packaging factory, a kitting factory, or the packaging is going to be delivered to this factory for them to kit it. So my first user is going to be the person putting this product into this box. So I want to make sure that things are simple from a design perspective. The fact that you've got mirrored molded fiber inserts, and just taking a close look at these molded fiber inserts, this is a premium press insert, right? It's a dry press. You can tell there's a texture in the back here. That texture is pressed in. The texture is a result of the material, the pulp being pressed in, and then the front is a lot smoother because of that. It's pretty strong. With this insert, you've got this touch off here. This is meant to rest on the wall here, on the inside of the wall of the box. It keeps this product secure and allows this area here to crush and slow down the product if it's dropped. So as a packaging designer, you want to consider all the components. You've got these molded fiber inserts. You've got this belly band. The way this belly band locks, either it's going to lock this way or it's going to lock this way. As a designer, you get to dictate which of those two manners it's going to happen. But one thing you want to also keep in mind is the fulfillment. Whoever's putting it together, for whatever reason, this might cost more than this. Again, I don't know why. This might be a little bit more difficult once you've got product in there. But if this is your choice, you want to know the cost difference between the two. If this is a penny more and this is a penny less, you might want to go with the penny less and apply that penny towards the packaging, what's on shelf, and how you're going to compete, either by adding a process, upgrading the material, or there's a million ways that you can do that. So just things to consider. You want to consider all aspects of the pack and all of the users and everything that's going to impact cost. So then the box. And I'm skipping over the poly bags because poly bags, there's nothing really that we can do there. You're going to need poly bags when you're using molded fiber inserts. When this is going through transit, it's shaking either while it's being trucked or it's moving in the ocean. All that movement is going to create what's called dusting. So if I just tap this on this black area, and now this black area has a little bit of dust on there. So if we're talking about transporting this product for 4 weeks, 2 weeks to get to the store, or even through e-com when it gets shipped to you, by the time it gets to you, it's going to be coated in white dust. Not an attractive feature when you open the box. It's going to look like it's been used, it looks old. So the poly bag serves that purpose, plus it protects it from humidity and other factors as well. So as we look at the box, again, we kind of talked about this being the front of the box when it's on shelf, this being the front of the box when we get into the user experience. You've got this locking feature here. You've got this color, this full, all the branded color bands essentially there, and then the back explains the product a little bit. This gives you a little bit more of the marketing. Again, this product is on shelf, so the goal of this product is the goal of this packaging is to sell the product inside. So as we look at it, you've got brown corrugate. You can see the fluting. You can hear that. You've got brown craft paper, corrugate. Then you've got an SBS liner. SBS is just going to be like a folding board similar to this. It's coated on one side, uncoated on the other. It can be coated on both sides. There's a variety of materials. Depending on who's producing it, a C1S might be more or less than a C2S. So again, things to consider. You get to select those things and just making sure that you're aware of costs so you can apply the cost where it actually matters versus in areas that it doesn't. One thing with this is that this has a matte lamination over the top of it, which is why the color is so crisp. You're not getting any kind of scuffing on there. It's beautiful. You've got this spot UV happening over the images, so you might be able to see that glare. That gives you some dimensionality, which is great in terms of having that be on shelf. As you're walking past it, you'll see some of that movement. From a sustainability standpoint, you've got a matte lamination over the box. Matte lamination is going to make this unrecyclable. Technically, it is recyclable because somebody can take the film off of it and recycle the box. But the reality is that no MRF is going to sit there and separate the film from one box at a time. It's a matter of speed and efficiency, and that's not efficient. So can they technically put recyclability, recycle symbol on it? Yes, they can. But as you can see here, I tear this away, you've got this film laminate that goes over the top of the box. That's not going to get separated anywhere. So talking about the experience. Overall experience is pretty good. You've got, it's easy to access, easy to pull the product out. From the consumer standpoint, I think we're pretty good. From the fulfillment standpoint, I think there's a few things that can be done that would be a little easier, a little bit more streamlined. Bringing down costs, being able to increase costs on the actual pack itself versus those tiny little details in terms of like packing and putting the cables in. Also from the retailer, the user experience isn't the greatest. You've got these two peg holes that you're asking somebody at a retail store to only peg one at a time. Again, if they're busy or they're between customers for whatever reason, or somebody pulls it off and it goes back on shelf, this is what you're displaying. At least people know this to be the Polaroid rainbow. But this is a sticker, so as it's hanging there, this is pulling back. You're probably going to drop this. This thing's probably going to drop off the shelf. Not a great experience at that particular point. So considering all the different users, you've got your fulfillment, how they pack it, you've got the user, consumer, then you've got the end of the life MRF, right? So you've got all the components inside that are somewhat recyclable. You've got this piece on the outside, the biggest piece, that is not recyclable. From a consumer standpoint, you're gonna think it is because it's cardboard, it's got brown craft on the inside, it even has a recycle symbol on it. You're gonna toss it into your blue bin. If this makes it through the recycle center, if you've got an electronic eye, they're going to scan it, know that there's plastic on the outside of this thing, it's gonna get tossed, go to landfill. So even though you've got a recycle symbol on here, where's it going? It's going to the landfill. So just things to consider as a packaging designer. You need to know your materials, understand how they're used, what happens when it goes to the recycle center or if it's going to a landfill. You can make all those decisions on your own. If you don't know, if you're not sure, if you're unclear about the material, you can reach out to material experts, either reaching out to paper companies, you can call the MRFs. If you're still unsure, you can reach out to me. My information will be below. I'm happy to share anything that I know about that material or any kind of packaging, or at least point you in the right direction. So let's look at the user experience one more time. You've got this, you push that away from you, bring the product towards you. We've got a missed opportunity here. We could use this to communicate. Dust flaps are typically the forgotten component. It's like the redheaded stepchild here, where there can be messaging here. These two can come together. You can mark it, welcome, your prints are coming, whatever marketing copy needs to go on there, you can welcome them there, right? Then when you open it, you've got this pull gently, which is an instruction, or you can have just made these touch, have a die cut here that shows you the pull gently so that you know what to do next. So it's less of a demand from the customer and more of a welcoming experience. Then when we remove these guys, that works out pretty well. You have this Polaroid rainbow on this side, you've got Polaroid originals on the left. Can they have done something a little more interesting? Probably. Even though I don't care so much about the quick start guide, because I'm not actually going to quick start this thing, things to consider. You've got a white molded fiber tray. You've got a black quick start guide. You got to use this extra sheet of paper here as a slip sheet, because when this is traveling on a truck or in the water and it's vibrating, it's rubbing, it's going to rub this black ink over the top of this, and your pristine white experience is going to get pretty muddy. Then removing that, other ways could have been to flip it over and have where you actually peel it from the top and then this blossoms open to reveal the product, versus having to shimmy it off or to flip it over and unlock it. Molded fiber, great. This is excellent. The fact that you've got a left and I'm sure you've got a right here, that indicates to the fulfillment which side goes where, right? If these are stacked together, they can put them together really quick. So you're left with your product. Take your poly bag off. This you can't recycle, but now you're left with your product. So you've got these two components with better recyclable molded fiber. You've got this piece here, which is SBS with a matte lamination over the top of it. You can just feel it. It feels like an Apple box. It feels soapy, soft over the top of it. You got this component that's not recyclable. You got this component that's not recyclable also. This SBS piece of laminated to the box here was probably printed with this one together, where they're just getting run so that your colors here probably match these pretty close. Yep, so your color is a pretty dead match from one to the next. This is printed in 4-color process. It's great. It's a great print. You know, I don't see the dots across this between these two colors, between the orange and the red. As I kind of work my way up here to the green one, I can see the pixelation between the two because that's the cyan dot. There's probably not very much cyan in this yellow here, so I can see it almost looks like shark teeth all the way across it. But those are things that are going to happen, right? If we would have saved money in some of these other areas, you probably could have done a couple spot colors in here. So the overall unboxing, I think, is in line with the product cost. This is about $120. You know, this is sort of what you would expect. A couple of bummers is the fact that you can't recycle the main parts of the packaging. You're left with a lot of stuff that you can't recycle, and you've got a couple pieces that you can. So a couple quick takeaways. You've got user experience, consider all your users, fulfillment, consumer, recycling center. Everyone along the line. And don't forget the retailer, right? You also have to consider all the materials, making sure that throughout the process you're not creating anything that's too complex from a fulfillment standpoint that's going to increase your costs, that'll essentially rob money from your packaging design. Make sure that you're considering the structure. You've got a tuck box, it's got a 1, 2, 3 bottom on it. It's really simple to assemble. You've got a matte lamination on it, which then makes it non-recyclable. You know, that's not the greatest solution. So things to think about as you're designing it. Obviously, you want to consider the product, the weight, the fragility of the product. That molded fiber is an excellent solution. You can drop that thing from 36 inches in pretty rapid succession, not being concerned that that product's going to impact the sidewalls and be damaged. If you've got questions, please feel free to reach out. You can leave them in the comments. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can follow Get Unboxed. All right, guys, get out there, get packaging.